afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, today I'm going to be talking to you about exchange rates. So there are two types of exchange rates: floating versus fixed. What is the difference? Right, so a floating exchange rate is where we leave the currency to market forces. We leave it to move up, down, left, right, centre, whatever. It is left to do whatever it wants. The opposite case is a fixed exchange rate. So in a fixed exchange rate, we're going to look at this diagram here. Say for example there is an increase in the demand for a certain type of currency. Why is this? Because say for example there's an increase in demand for the exports, and this shifts the demand curve to the right. So the country is keeping it pegged, so they want to increase the supply, and they do this by printing out currency. So this printing out of currency will shift the supply curve to the right and keep the currency pegged. And a country may want to keep the currency pegged because it can boost their exports. They can depreciate their currency artificially to boost their exports. And this is what Trump is accusing China of doing now. So, what is the issue with fixing your exchange rate? Well, as the UK saw in 1992 on Black Wednesday, when the demand keeps rising and rising and rising, there was this man who went against the market, against the central bank, fought him directly with a lot of capital, and just kept increasing the demand for the pound until it became unsustainable for the central bank to keep selling and selling the pound and keeping it pegged. And in the end, the guy who took on the central bank won, and won a lot of money. So this is the issue with keeping the currency pegged. It's unfeasible in the long run. It may be a short run policy, but it is not sustainable. Now I'm going to look at what actually impacts the supply and demand of a currency. So we're going to look at the Australian dollar here in this diagram. So we're going to start with an increase in the demand. So what do the demand and supply show? The demand curve, which is upward sloping, is showing the demand for Australian exports. The supply curve is showing the demand for foreign imports. So we get an increase in the demand of the Australian dollar. This is because people are demanding more and more of their exports, which is good for the economy. And what we get is an appreciation of the currency. Conversely, if we get an increase in the supply, so what this means is that people are demanding more and more foreign imports in Australia. And this leads to a increase in the supply of the Australian dollar, because people are converting their money into those foreign currencies, increasing the supply of the Australian dollar. And this means that we get a depreciation. So it's important to remember this term here, spiced. Spice means that strong pound imports cheaper, exports dearer. This is a good way to remember what happens from an appreciation, and in a converse depreciation it's going to be the opposite. Other factors that may influence the supply and demand curve are interest rates. So, if a country decides to reduce their interest rates, cut interest rates, which a lot of countries are currently doing, this means that hot money will flow out of that country because people can't get interest rate. The interest rate is comparably poor compared to those which have higher interest rates. So it means that hot money is flowing out of that country and into the countries where they have a higher interest rate, so they can get more returns on their investments. Conversely, if a country is increasing their interest rates, which not many are doing at the moment, this means that hot money flows straight into that economy, and it will boost the demand for that currency, and this will cause an appreciation. So if cut interest rates, we get a depreciation, and if there's a rise in interest rates, we get an appreciation. So I hope this gives you an idea of what effect we have on currencies, demand and supply, and whether it appreciates or depreciates. And it's important to remember this when thinking about investing in certain types of currencies. Thank you for listening.